Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Bonsai Blacksmith. Today I have a new Action Pro camera that's going to take better quality videos from now on. And I have several trees to shoot with this camera today. Starting with the Eastern Hemlock, which is Tsuga canadensis. I also have the Eastern White Pine, which is the Pinus strobus. And then I also have the balsam fir, which the name escapes me at the moment, Latin name, and I also have the Betula pendula, which is the European silver birch. So let's get started. Alright, so we have the Eastern Hemlock. I'm probably going to give it a basket instead of mounting it to a stone because it desperately wants water. I'm going to give it some soil first in the basket for it to grow into. I don't want it to be well-draining soil, yes, but we want the soil to retain as much moisture as possible. I should add some more perlite to this mixture, this substrate, but I don't have any at the moment, which I'll remedy soon. It's really hard to find these things in the off-season without ordering them in the mail. Alright, so I don't want to disturb the roots too much, and I also like its moss. Get rid of some of these weeds. Get some water on this. See what I'm doing here. Here we go. There we go. It needs its moisture. Now, the cool thing about hemlocks, the Eastern hemlock, has nothing to do with the poison in Europe. The plant that grows as a weed, but it grows in really low-light conditions. It's one of the very few trees in my forest in Maine that can grow in like 5% sunlight. It's used to growing in dense under canopies, and in fact, it won't even sprout in direct sunlight. That's how much it loves shade. Until it gets older, of course, it wants more and more sunlight, but still, it's a very shade-tolerant species. It's also a very well-lived species. It lives upward around 800 years old, growing from a foot to 2 feet every year, depending on its conditions. But it always loves access to moisture, so keep that in mind if you grow this as a bonsai. It's okay indoors, put a pot of water under it. Alright, I'm not going to do any massive root work to this right now. I'm just going to let this tree prosper in the air pot, because that's what an air pot really is for. Most people don't realize why we do these basket pots like this. The air enters the root system, allows the roots to grow faster, allows the plant to grow faster, allows the trunk to thicken faster. And also, once the roots reach the edge, they dry out and self-prune. It's a win-win. I'm going to add more soil to this. I don't know if I want to try to expose any nabari here right now. Maybe I do. Let me get my pick. I should say my root hook. Let's take old hemlock out here and see what we're working with, and I'll bring it to the camera. Again, I want to save this moss, so I'm going to put it over here. Weeds will be going away. I think a lot of the moss didn't make it. So they say this camera is good at low light. We'll find out. The sun is setting currently, and I still have 4 more trees to plant, but this is pretty easy stuff, guys. This isn't heavy-duty bonsai work today. I don't want it to be. Just a simple introduction to these cool trees. This one might even go on inside for the winter, just so I can check it out. Get some of these loose ends out of here. We need a little more space for this tree. I'm going to wash the root ball real quick. See what we're working with for roots. Alright, I'll bring that to you guys. So that's what we're looking at here. It does have a potential pretty cool nabari, although the tree's going to have to be replanted on an angle there, but it's definitely workable. Let's get that in the pot. That's fairly long. Although it will encourage this tree to grow more if I snip that. I keep second guessing myself, but that's okay. It's a new species, new tree. It's important to ask all the right questions. So, I'm actually cut this halfway up right there. That's going to go. So are these. I want this tree to start thinking bonsai. Cut about half that root system off. All right. No more. It's winter's coming, right? The front of the tree. The front of the tree. Probably right there. I'm going to say that's the front of the tree. Get some more dirt. Put it in there. Which is just garden mix, by the way, folks. Got perlite, compostable material in there. Using my fingers to work the material in, get rid of the air pockets. Always important. I say it a lot, but it's very important. Especially with this really cool tree. The oldest living tree in our forest here in Maine. The most shade-tolerant species in Maine. I'm really excited to see how it works out. I'll come back and do a pruning once I see the life bounce back. Or maybe I'll do a pruning tomorrow before that happens. That way the root pruning and the top pruning are more equal. So there's that. I'll give you a close-up at the end of all these. Let's now work on a longer forest. A forest of 3, and I want to put them in this long pot here. So I have the pine, the fir, and an eastern cedar, which is actually not a cedar, it's a thuja. So I obviously can't keep it in this big pile if I want to put it in this pot. So let's get this unclustered here. Try to save some of the moss. I'll be using that later. Pull these trees apart if possible without hurting them too much. It's almost grafted together. I guess that's commonplace for conifers. So here's the pine. It's a very interesting pine. It's got a very interesting look to it. Although we're going to have to cut it back. It's too big. Let's cut it in half. We're going to cut half the root system down. There we go. Go ahead and maybe a little bit more. Wash the root system. Place the tree here for now. Do the others. Now let's get the fur out. The root system is quite intense on this. A little bit more involved. It's a nice tree as well. I like it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut some of this root mass off. Can't put all this in the pot. There's no way. There's no way. But I don't want to take too much off because, again, it's winter and we don't want to stress the tree out too much. And these are going to have to require a pruning on the top. I may wait for tomorrow for the pruning, and that'll be like the part 2 for these. All right. Give that a bath as well. See how that looks. Oops. All right. There's the fir. Lay that down next to the pine. Now we got tiny thuja, a cedar, a false cedar. I'm trying to be careful with this root system. Doesn't have much of a root system. We'll still cut it back a little bit, like so. I'll even cut off the dead foliage on the bottom. I don't think that's coming back. All right, so there's thuja. Now I have to figure out how I want to style these trees. Now, looking at this tree, I'm going to remove anything that looks like a handlebar to me that I don't want, or anything that makes the tree look young. Handlebar. It's growing more up. Get rid of that one. Let's see here. I've got to determine the front of this tree. Which is the front of this tree? I don't want any of these lower branches going, so I'm picking those off right now. This looks like the front, even though we got this weird growth up here I have to cut off the roots. That root was coming straight up. We can't have that. Yeah, so I'm thinking this is the front of the tree right here. And looking at how that's going to develop. Yeah, that's coming straight at me. I don't want that. Get rid of that. Let's see here. Do I prune the tree? I'll let it grow taller. I think I'm going to prune this tree here. Top it right there. I'm going to cut this back. So this branch is off. Cut this back. So that branch is back. Try to do that. Anything growing down I don't want. Get rid of anything growing down. That one's coming off. Alright. So far so good. Got that back. Got that back. This definitely has to be cut back. So is this. So is this. And this. Alright. So there's the fir tree. Pruned. Top and bottom. The thuja doesn't really need much pruning. It needs all the help it can get. The pine, pruning the pine. The pine's very sparse. And I'm not sure where the front of this pine is. I'm thinking that's the front of the pine. So this coming straight out is probably has to go. This one right here. This little one. Right there, that had to go. And on top here, do I let it grow taller? That's a great question. I'm going to say no. Go ahead and top it. Top that pine tree and see what it does. I'm going to cut back here. Let these other branches do their thing. A minimal pruning. Now, which one's taller? This one's taller. So tall, medium, and then the smallest one, the thuja. So we get some soil into the air basket, the air pot. We'll do the air pot method here. These are all going into a greenhouse this winter, so they're only going to get a soft chill. They're not getting the full hard winter. All right, so I got that down. So go ahead and the way these roots are, it's crazy. I might only be able to put 2 trees in this one. That's okay. That's what happens. That's what happens. That's okay. I'm trying to put the front of the tree facing me. That's what I want. There we go. Almost. Now let's take the fir tree and see if there's still room in this pot. There might not be. This might need its own pot. So, in hindsight, I'll probably take the thuja and put that in the pot with the pine. That's going to be its own deal. And the fir is going to get its own pot. I have spoken. So we put some soil in there. Going to push back all this dirt. I'll clean this up. I'm losing daylight, so I got to hurry. The hustle is on. So there we go. Some more dirt in there. Although this camera is doing quite well. Front of the tree. Here's the front. That's the front. Tuck that in. Put that down. See if that works. Get some more soil on this. Pack it in. Pack that in. It's okay if we lose some. That's part of the game. I'll sweep it up and use it later. More soil in there. Make sure it's nice and level there. I want to try to reveal some of the Nabara if I can. Although it doesn't have much. Some. I'm going to have to take some sealant and put it on these cut wounds once I get it all planted up. Let's make sure we get our thuja planted. We don't want to forget our thuja. That put in here right now on the edge. That way the pine will leave it alone, hopefully. I could probably snip this part of the pine off so it doesn't interfere with the thuja. They offset them so they're not right on top of each other. And then tomorrow, I don't know if I have to make a part 2. But tomorrow I'll put the moss on top so you can see how that really changes things. Helps lock in that moisture, especially with the more moisture sensitive species like the hemlock. You're going to want to lock in the moisture with like a nice moss layer. In my opinion anyway. Take it or leave it. There we go. Well, the sun is setting and I'm running out of time, but I got this birch I need to plant in the worst way. Let's liberate it from all this terrible soil it's got. So there's the silver birch. Got this pot prepared. Go ahead and wash I'll do that on camera here. Wash the root ball without hurting the leaves. It's still got green leaves, which is really cool. So if I can keep it from getting too cold, it might hold its leaves for another couple weeks before it finally drops them. Birch are very cold resistant species. I called it one of the cold ones for sure. They're right up there with the rest of them. It's got a very interesting root structure. Definitely want to prune this. But how? Got a few smaller branches coming out of the base down here. They're not individual trees. They're actually part of the... So what I'm going to do is do a little multitasking here. I only want one branch coming off this tree down here. So I'll just trim off the little ones that are down here already. Sorry, birch. And then get any of the anomalous ones that look a little weird. But don't let the tree look mature. There we go. I'm thinking I'm liking that right now. I think that's as much cutting as I want to do on this tree. I could probably do a little bit more on the inside where they're fighting each other, crossing over each other a little bit. I can get rid of those. They seem to be dying anyway. But besides that, I think that birch is ready to be planted. So let's get it in the soil. Where's the front of this tree, you ask? That's a great question. It's got quite a root system on it, which I'm going to let grow. So I'm going to set the tree up right around here, get some more soil. Use the fingers to help compress those pockets of air. It's only do a half an inch at a time of soil and you won't have a problem. But if you want, you can use like a pointed object like a toothpick or a chopstick or any kind of stick that you have handy. I want to let the bari show on this a little bit. Let's see what I can come up with. It's getting dark, so there's not much I can do right now. But I think that'll do it for now. At least it's in a pot. It's going to get watered. And it's going to be put indoors tonight. Let me get you a lineup on these trees. Here we have the silver birch. the Betula pendula. And keep it nice and warm for the next couple weeks in and out as it loses its leaves. But right now it's looking fairly good for a tree in October. Here we have Abby's balsamia, also known as the balsam fir. I'm going to let it grow out some more, and in the spring I'll give it a proper pruning, but right now I don't want to stress it out too much after collecting it. Here we have the eastern hemlock, also known as the Tsuga canadensis, the longest lived species in the Maine woods, in my particular forest here. It's also the most shade tolerant tree in our forest, and also makes a great bonsai because it has a shallow root system. It does do well in low light situations. As long as you keep the soil moist, the tree will be happy. I'm going to let it grow in the pot for a while before I prune it back, just so it establishes itself in its new environment. And I also need to do some more research on this tree before I do too much cutting, because I'm not sure how it's going to respond. Here we have, I would call it a stepmother and stepchild arrangement, where we have two trees, a sokan, as they say in Japan, sokan. We got the eastern pine, the big one, which is Pinus strobus, and then we have the eastern white cedar, which is not really a cedar. I always say that just so everyone forgets. It's known as Thuja occidentalis. They're both conifers. I gave them a moss bed with the moss I was able to salvage from today's collection. Let these grow out and see how they develop. Well, we did the end of the episode by lantern light. There you go. There's the lantern. And you can see them much better. I tried shooting in the dark, and like, this camera is supposed to be better in low light situations, but you got to set it to a night mode and everything else. I will say the colors are more vibrant. I've already done some editing, and I'm very happy with what the camera can do. So I hope you all appreciate the higher quality video from here onwards, and I hope you appreciated the trees I showed you and how I bonsai'd them and why I did the processes that I did. I hope it all made sense to you. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. And until next time, take care.